So the day has finally come where I'm tired of choking the airflow on my AIO with my horrible Rosewood Prism T500. The case was cheap, it was $55, but it really offers like no ventilation on the front, and that's the only place where you can put a radiator at. So now I'm very worried, and I've been worried for months, and I don't like replacing the case in less than a year, but for the survival of my computer, I have no choice. And that's why I'm here today with the Corsair 4000D Airflow. And we're gonna have a look at it today in another super cool unboxing. All right, so we have this Corsair 4000D Airflow. This back of the box shows the kind of breakdown when you're breaking it down. You take all the side panels off and everything. So that's a pretty cool diagram to have directly on the box. I got this from my local Best Buy. Did the little in-car curbside pickup. I kind of wanted something immediately because I work during the week, so it's easier if I can kind of coordinate and get stuff on the weekend. Let's get this styrofoam off of here. And this is the black one. I know there's a white variant, and white cases are cool too, but I kind of like having the black one and having the little RGB in the front, or some RGB fans or something like that. I just think it pops, especially because this has a tempered side glass from what I saw in the pictures, but we shall soon find out once I get this out of the bag. And your instructions and stuff are at the bottom. So, okay. And that's good. They put a piece of tape on the top so that way the air filter doesn't fly off somewhere during shipping. So that's a nice touch, even though I just pulled it off by accident. But it's fine. It's fine. So let me check to make sure that there's nothing important in this manual, because when I did my NZXT H510 unboxing, I kind of forgot and had to start the video back up. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot the accessory. So no, this is just like an instruction manual or a guide. You got the removable dust filter up here. There's a little yellow tab. On the front, you've got a USB, regular standard USB-A port, USB-C port, headphone/microphone combo jack, a reset button, and a power button. It's very bare bones as far as like if you need a lot of USB ports on the front, you basically got one regular and one USB-C, and that's it. So if you need a lot, then this ain't the case for you. Let's see how this front panel is. The front panel is pretty nice. It's actually a pretty heavy metal. Heavy metal. That was unintentional, just like me almost dropping the case. And yeah, this is pretty sturdy. There's a filter up here. Oh, I could have just, that was an unnecessary fight. So the way it's configured out of the box, there's one fan up here to pull in air, and then you have one fan in the back to suck air out. I'm definitely replacing this front fan. I'll probably keep the one in the back, and then my radiator is going to go on the top. Hopefully it clears. I'm really hoping it does, because I really would rather have it on the top, especially because my radiator doesn't have the RGB fan. So I want the bling bling in the front with the RGB, and then my radiator on top with the regular fans inside the case to kind of, you know, make it more consistent. I'll do what I have to do, but I'll be disappointed if I can't put them in the front. But it does leave you extra space up here to put a radiator, so that's good. Let's do the peel for the side panel. This is probably, so far this is the best peel that I've ever done. Oh, that was buttery smooth. I'm getting better at this. That is the side panel. And also I paid about $80 for this case. It was $90. I had a coupon and a $5 off, so I ended up paying $80 or $95, sorry. So I ended up getting like around $15 off with coupons. But yeah, typically this case is like $95. And so far, if I can ever get this panel off, am I not doing something right? I'm not doing something right. Oh, it's just a push. You just push it. You just push it. Okay. It's good that I did take it off, because I would have not looked inside and not pulled this off. Did y'all see 2 successful peels in a row? So this is your side panel. That's weird to say that the case feels good, but I mean, it feels nice. Like, it has a nice feel to it. It doesn't feel cheap. I mean, I have been living with like a $55 case. So I think anything in comparison to that will just feel nice. This also just pulls out for the back panel. So this also just pulls off for the back panel. You have your hard drive cage down here, which also houses the accessories. So this is the cord that you need to use for the USB-C port. I'm not sure if my motherboard has that connector. It's not a big deal. I would like to have the USB-C port in the front for VR. And then also I have some USB-C docks because, you know, I have MacBooks and whatnot, and you kind of start living that lifestyle when you have a MacBook, a newer one. But if it's not, if I don't have that connector in my motherboard, it's not a big deal. I'll just be sad. I'll just have a port up there. I'll just plug stuff into it. Like, this port doesn't do anything. Why do I have to fight the styrofoam so much? Good gravy. Yeah, let me shimmy this out. Protective styrofoam. And here we have the box of goodies. So you have your 3.5 hard drive bays down here. It's completely removable. There's 2 screws right here if you want to remove it or move it over a little bit. There's also 2 SSD or 2.5-inch hard drive bays on the back here. And then of course you have your PSU shroud down here, which is actually pretty spacey. I think most people will be fine with having their PSU down here. It won't be an issue. I like their little cable management zip ties that it came with. This kind of feels a little bit not the sturdiest right here on the motherboard tray, but other than that, it's fine. This is the inside of the case. So this is perforated at the where the shroud is on the top, so you can see through it. So if you have an ugly power supply, I'm just warning you, this is not going to be the loveliest case. Yeah, and then there's a deep cutout right here, so you can put a third fan in here. There's a little basement for your power supply cables. Actually, they have 2. That's kind of cool. So you can use it for whatever cables. So like if you have your, you know, GPU cables come out of one, you can have your some other cables come out of the other side. So it doesn't have to be like just exclusively for the GPU. They put more than enough room to put other cables, like your, you know, front IO connectors can go through here, or anything else you need to plug in at the bottom of your motherboard, like an RGB USB 2.0 connector or something like that. So let's see what's in this little accessory box. So we get some more of these Corsair Velcro ties. So there's 3 Velcro ties. Of course, we have our motherboard screw. Then they have some cheaper cable ties in here, like, you know, the typical plastic ones. It does not look like it includes the adapter for the headphone jack. So if you do need like the, not the headphone jack, but the separate mic headphone jack combo port, does not include the adapter with it. So if you do need a separate headphone or microphone connection, you would have to buy an adapter for that. So that's kind of the overall tour of the case itself. I like how wide it is. Hopefully this is enough clearance for me to make it above my motherboard, like for my AIO at the top. And then I do like the fact that you can easily fit 3 fans down here, but I'm excited to get everything built and put in here. So that is exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and get my stuff in here, and hopefully I'll be all RGB'd out, and I'll be back to give you my first impressions of the case after I've had a little bit of time to use it. See you then. Ouch, that actually hurts. I don't know why people do that. All right, so it's been about a week since I got the Corsair 4000D over here, and I really like it so far. My CPU temperature is instantly dropped by 10 degrees on idle as soon as I put everything in here, which is nice. It's almost like, you know, putting a spot where air can flow through the case helps it a lot. I gotta stop throwing shade at the Roswell Prism 500 or T500 because it's actually been discontinued. I didn't realize at the time that I made the video, it actually got discontinued, I think like a week after I bought it. So at least they're not selling it anymore, and the newer cases that Roswell makes actually has vents on the front. So from what I've seen, I mean, I probably wouldn't buy another cheap case like that again, but I just don't want to completely crap on the Prism T500. It's fine if you have like lower power components, but if you need something with airflow, especially if you need something that's going to be available at like a local store, like if you just have Best Buys in the area like I do, and you don't want to order online, this is probably going to be the best case you can find at Best Buy. Typically the Best Buy in my area usually has this case, There's another Corsair case, another airflow case that's there, but the front isn't as open and the design's kind of ugly. And then there's like the NZXT H510 and the H510i. Those are typically the cases that they have. So if you need something local and you just have Best Buy in the area, they probably will have this case. At least in my area, that's been the cases at every store. But overall, like for $95, it's a really good case. I really like the fact that you can fit 3 fans in the front. I like the fact that you can fit the radiator on top. This is like the first case that I've had where this actually worked. So I was really excited about it. They had that extra little space to make sure it clears your motherboard. Obviously, it's going to depend on the size of your motherboard and like the VRM cooling and stuff if it's actually going to work. But I have like a B450 motherboard, so it was completely fine. I was not able to hook up the USB-C port as predicted, which only leaves me with one USB 3 port on the front of the computer, and that's it. So I have my USB 3 port and I have the headphone jack. If you have a cheaper motherboard, there's a chance that you might not have the connector for USB-C. On our other computer, technically on Jeff's computer, it does have the port on the motherboard for USB-C, so that one is hooked up. And that computer is the same configuration on the front where it just has a USB-A, USB-C, and microphone/headphone combo jack. So that's one thing I don't like is they kind of cut the I/O, and if you don't have a motherboard that has that header, then you're kind of SOL, like you just get one USB port and that's it. At least if you have the USB-C port, you can adapt it to USB-A and possibly just hook up a hub and have additional USB ports if you need them. But now I literally have one, so I gotta just hook up a USB hub pretty much when I need to use anything that, you know, has more than one USB connection. Another thing is this case is a bit wider than other cases. If you look at it from the front, it's really hard to tell because they really balanced it really well with the design. But if you look at the top, you can definitely tell it's a little bit thicker. So if you're concerned about like the width, like for instance, we got one of the IKEA desks that has a holder for like a computer tower in there. And the NZXT H510 barely fit on there. And I'm pretty sure this would not fit at all because it's too wide. So if you have some kind of tower holder or something like that for your computer, you might want to measure it just to make sure that this will fit up there. Or if you have a smaller desk in general, then you might want to measure it. But the good thing about the width, aside from being able to fit a radiator on the top part of the case, is there's a bunch of room for cable management. And this is one of the few cases where I didn't have to worry about having to try to jam the door closed when I was finished. So yeah, if you're a new PC builder, this might be a good option because you don't have to worry as much about being like super neat with the wires. I was able to easily get everything in there and didn't have to fight to jam the door closed like I usually do with my builds. I'm just saying that's just me. I'm not the cleanest builder. I do like there's plenty of room inside the case as well. It's not one of those shortened cases. So there is a lot of room inside the case. Like if you have a big graphics card. I mean, my graphics card is pretty big. I have the lower style 2080 Ti and the connectors, the power connectors are on the end of the card. So it's like extra long and I didn't have any clearance issues at all with that card in there. So I would say like most GPUs are probably gonna fit in there. Another concern would be if you do have 3.5 inch drives. There's only room for 2 3.5 inch drives and then 2 2.5 inch drives in the little spot on the back of the motherboard. I'm currently using all of those slots. I mean, technically, if you don't have 3.5 inch drives, you could probably fit 4 2.5 inch drives, like the smaller SSDs. But the hard drive cage is an issue. So let's say if you have a 360 radiator, you have to put it on the front, and you need the room at the bottom. Well, in order for me to fit my power supply in there, I had to move the cage all the way to the front, to the first configuration, to get my power supply in there with the 2 3.5 inch drives that I have. So I don't even think there'll be enough room realistically for a 360 rad if I had one with the hard drives. So even though it does have space for the hard drives, if you have like a 360 radiator and then some 3.5 inch drives, or maybe 4 2.5 inch drives, you're using all the drive bays. And then if you have a power supply that, you know, the cables are kind of stiff and then don't have much room to work with, then it might not work. Like there might not be enough space on the front with the hard drive cage in there. Obviously you could probably figure out some other weird configuration to get the hard drives in there, like maybe laying them on the bottom or something like that and then taping them. I don't know. But I mean, you could probably figure it out, but it's not really gonna work well if you actually want to use the included cage and put a 360 rad in there. Like I was barely able to get that third fan at the bottom in there with the stuff that I have, and obviously a radiator is gonna be thicker than that. Speaking of that, the only other knock that I have is that the fact that it only comes with 2 fans, and considering that this is like a 6 fan chassis, they could at least put 2 in the front for intake and then 1 in the back. They're not really particularly expensive fans. I mean, they're fine. I did keep the one in the back that came in the case, and the rest of them I replaced. But it would have been nice if they would have included at least one extra fan in there. The NZXT one, to be fair, was the same, but considering this one's more focused on airflow, it would have been nice if they threw an extra fan in there, considering that they're not including RGB fans. And speaking of RGB, if you're wondering what fans these are, I actually did a video on them a few months ago. They're the Antec Spark 120s. It's like a 3-pack. It's around like $35 to $40, and they all daisy chain together. These ones are non-addressable, so they connect directly to the 4-pin motherboard header. So these were just some cheap fans that I got when I was trying to save the airflow in my last case. In case you're wondering about it, I don't like to spend too much on RGB fans, so these were cheap and they're pretty nice looking, and they have dual-sided LEDs. So I was like, you know what, for $30-something, and the fact they only take a 1 fan header on the motherboard, I was all for it. You can also, of course, get the Corsair fans if you want to, but personally, I don't like the fact that it takes up a USB header on the motherboard. I already have a Corsair AIO, and that already takes up one of my USB 2.0 headers, so I definitely didn't want to get Corsair fans anyway. So if you have like an addressable RGB header on your motherboard, I would definitely look into getting those type of fans if you want RGB in this case, which I think it looks really good with RGB, especially in the front. One other thing that people may or may not like is the side panel is very tinted. So unless you have some RGB in your computer, you probably won't be able to see anything inside the computer. Like the last case I had was tinted as well, but this one is like way darker. So without anything on, you just literally can't see inside the case. Some people might like how dark it is, honestly. Like if you don't care about RGB and you don't want to see inside the computer, like maybe you just don't have parts or just don't care about showing off your computer parts, then it's dark enough where you really won't see inside the computer unless you look really closely. If you do have RGB, I think it looks really good. I mean, I don't have that much RGB in my computer aside from the AIO pump and then the other side of the fans that you can see, but it looks very dark. Like you can barely see it. Like you can see the RGB faintly, which I'm fine with. I think it looks good. I think if you wanted to put like some light strips or something in there, you can really make it look good. But if you want to be clear, like show off everything that's inside your computer, it's not a great case for that. I believe the white version isn't tinted for what I saw when I was looking it up. But yeah, just so you're aware of it, the glass is very dark. But yeah, so far this has been the best case that I've owned. The biggest downside for me, again, is the USB ports on the front. Just being stuck with one, it really sucks. Yeah, but other than that, it's a great case and it is airflow-tastic. That was, I'm ending the video, sorry. I'm ending it, it's over. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and always do at least 2 things at the same time. And I will be back next Wednesday, finally with my AirPods Max review. So stay tuned.